Hi, my name's Aaron. I'm a Three Principles practitioner, and I work with people to bring the best out of them by explaining to them how they experience their life in this world. And that way, my clients have a shift within themselves through the conversations we have to realize how they operate in the world, and that helps them improve in their relationships, their work, whether it's a student at school, all types of things. Life just gets better. Today, I'd specifically like to speak to you about the subject of forgiveness in relationships. You know, there's one person very often that we find very difficult to forgive, and that is, drum roll, ourselves. We can often be our biggest critic and really, really tough. You should have done this, you shouldn't have done that. Why didn't you take the job offer that they offered you? And we beat ourselves up for years to come. And this lack of forgiveness of ourselves actually stops us from moving forward in all areas. And more specifically, our relationships, which is what I want to speak about as well. Because one is really dependent on the other. If you're in a state of lack of forgiveness for yourself and you're walking around in angst all day, could you imagine the state of mind you're in, being really angry and dragged down, and then I've got to go to work, and then I've got to go meet people, and then I've got to go be nice to people. It's hard to feel nice to others when you're very unforgiving to yourself. So, if you really want to forge ahead, have better relationships, it starts with the relationship of yourself. And it starts with the stopping of the beating up of yourself for your own past misgivings. Yes, we can all look at ourselves and sort of, pick on ourselves, but where does that really take us? And going one step further, or actually deeper into the source of this lack of forgiveness, it has to do with our thoughts. And as Sydney Banks taught in the Three Principles, that a thought is just an illusion. So this that I'm beating myself up at the moment about a past situation, that's already gone. The past is gone. It's done. It's finished. And the past is only relived by a thought. And if you keep on giving significance to that thought, then you become a prisoner. You get under the grip of that thought, and you really think that that thought is real. But it's not real because it's already gone. It's happened. As the saying goes, I can't cry over spilt milk. What's done is done. The only thing that I have now is the present. The future's a thought in the future, but right now I'm here and I'm now. And I have a choice. And when I wake up to that fact that I have a choice on whether I want to fuel that thought and give more significance to that thought, I also know, oh, I don't like that thought. Okay, what's next? I can choose to have a new thought. I don't want to fight with my thoughts. If I'm having a bad, cloudy thought, negative, dark cloud experience, if I just realize, hey, that's a thought and that's like a fleeting cloud, guess what's going to happen? It's going to pass by after a period of time. But if I fight on it and I try to do what they do in a lot of self-help, is I've got to control it. Yes, let's do this, let's do that, and let's go through all these different steps to try and get you really good at controlling your thoughts. Well, actually, the reverse happens. And when you fight with that thought, you become more gripped by it. It's like having a wrestling match with somebody very filthy and dirty. You're rolling around in the mud together. You're clean. The other guy's filthy dirty with mud. And now you're trying to have a fight with him. And guess what? All the mud's spraying onto you. It's the same thing with the thought. It's like a disease. You just get caught up in it. But if you realize what a thought is, and it's just made up in the moment, it's what we call our personal thinking, then it doesn't become so solid anymore, and we can really get to the nature of where that thought's coming from, which is our imagination. We just make it up on the fly, because we're always, as long as you are a human being that's alive, you're going to think. And if you're going to think, you're going to have one thought after the next, after the next, after the next. So you get to choose. Do I want to pick that off the conveyor belt? Or can I just let it pass by? Okay, what's next? That's up to you. That's not a technique, by the way. I'm just giving you metaphors of how we experience our life through our thinking. But another metaphor is I can just press a button, change the channel, change my experience. I don't have to stay in beating up mode of myself. And when that happens, I'm moving into more forgiveness of myself. And I don't need to worry about the past. I did the best I could at that time. I don't need to continue to beat myself up. Now I'm a big, smart Alec. Yes, I could have done this, I could have done that. But at the time when you're under the pressure, we're locked in a certain paradigm, and that's all we can see. And that's fine, because we didn't know any better. So there's no use continuing in that form. And then, once we can forgive ourselves, we actually need to love ourselves and appreciate ourselves. Now, I'm not talking about an egotistical type of love. That's not what we're talking about over here. What we're talking about over here is a love of ourselves and a love of everyone, of who we really are. We're really a divine spirit having a physical experience in this object called the human body. And when we realize that, then we're really something infinite enclosed in a shell called the body, which is finite. And then we don't have to take all our thoughts on this world so seriously. They're not so carved in stone, because things are changing all the time, like our thoughts, our experience of certain things. The way you look at something today will not be the same way, exactly the way you'll look at it tomorrow or in a week or in 10 years' time. We develop, we evolve in our perspectives, hopefully broader perspectives on different circumstances in the world and in our lives. And that's why we don't need to take ourselves on the superficial side of our thinking so seriously. And when I have such an attitude, naturally I move into a much more loving state towards people and things and situations. That not only can I be forgiving to myself, I can be forgiving to others as well. Yes, there are certain people that do bad things, but intrinsically, I believe that everybody has a spark of good in them. And it's just a matter, and this is what I do with my clients that come to me. My job as a practitioner is I drag that inner core of good out of you. We call this in the 3 principles, it's called innate health. It's something that's innate, it's natural within every single human being. We all have it. And when we operate from that inner core of who we really are, not only are we forgiving to ourselves, we're forgiving to everyone, and much more loving towards everyone. And our relationships automatically increase and get better. So that's why the first thing we need to do is appreciate who we are ourselves. And when we do that, it's easier for us to be generous in our relationship to life circumstances and things in general. Life happens. Nobody goes through this life with things happening to them. We're all going to experience some challenge in some way, shape, or form or another. But when we're operating from a plane or a perspective that, hey, I can't necessarily change the circumstance, but I can at least change the way I understand in the way I think about that circumstance. So then things lighten up a little. Yes, I could be in pain. Yes, it hurts. I don't like that particular experience. But if I'm not going to languish and wallow in it and ruminate over and over and realize, well, I say, look, that person said something not nice to me. Okay, right now I'm in pain, but this too will pass. I know it's just another fleeting cloud, because our thoughts are always passing by. So when you operate from that plane, and also, as I said earlier, with the realization that you're a spiritual being having a physical experience in this world. And the reason we go through these different experiences and these ups and downs and these dips are because ultimately it's supposed to bring the better out of us. It's supposed to help us expose us to this inner core of who we are. When we're born, we have this real inner resilience that's glowing within us. And then after a while, as we go through our childhood and we grow up, you get told no, and this is no good, and that's no good. And we develop all these thoughts and experiences that we have. It covers over the innate health that we have. Our mission, I believe, on this earth is to reopen and re-expose what we once had when we were first born. And that's called innate health. Or some people call it this inner resilience of the soul, which is indestructible. And if you reveal that and you work on opening that up, and that's what I do with people, life and experience happens on a much more beautiful plane. If you feel this was any help to you, and you feel this was useful, please give it a thumbs up on the video. Also, I'm contactable as a therapist, as a 3 Principles practitioner. I'm contactable. I live in Australia, in Melbourne, Australia. I can be contacted on 613-9525-8217, or I have a US number. It's a 347-620-3567. You can contact me on that number as well, but please ring Melbourne Australian time. So just Google that, so you can call me at a time that I'm available. And if I'm not, leave a message on the answering machine, and I'll get back to you. And I'd love to hear from you and see what we can do to help you. And I usually give a half-hour free introductory call to see if we can work together, and we can take it from there. That's all for now, and bye for now. Thank you.